It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing, now with eco-friendly Honda engines. Coming up today, the Racing with the Stars. Get down to Joe's Karting today. You can check out their Facebook page for all of the racing stars and information for what's going on at Joe's Karting, and then also the Holiday Horsepower Drive. That's going on, again, today down at Joe's Karting for the Racing with the Stars, the benefit for the Holiday Horsepower Drive.
I think they're opening the doors about 10 a.m.
Okay. And that's always a fun event. It's discounted racing for all the fans. You get to race against some great local dirt drivers, and portions of the proceeds go to the Holiday Horsepower Drive. They always raise a bunch of money for it. They do a fantastic job, and then around the Christmas season, they go and do a bunch of Christmas shopping, and they wrap up presents. They take them down to the hospitals and give them to the children that are in the hospital over the holiday season. So it's a really cool event. You can head down to Joe's Karting today, again, starting at about 10 o'clock, and be a part of that.
Yeah, I believe that's when the doors open. I don't think they actually start any races, I don't believe, until noon.
Usually it's, well, I don't have all the facts right in front of me. I apologize for that. But you can head over to the Facebook page and check it out. So, all right. So we got a lot of show lined up for you today. Turn number one, it's just going to be Talladega.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are. There was a little thing that happened at Talladega last weekend, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. In turn number two, Rick Allen of NBCSN and the up in the announcer's booth for NBC for the NASCAR races will join us to talk about his take on Talladega, kind of the things that they were going through, and then talking about the Eliminator round, how the Contender round wrapped up. We'll talk a lot with him. In turn number three, we're going to sit down with Jimmy Small, president of Iowa Speedway. We'll talk about the 2016 race schedule. And in turn number four, we will preview Martinsville. All right, Talladega Superspeedway. You and I had this conversation. Let's start off with this last week. We had this conversation of the rule change, of the green, white, checkered rule change. I liked it. I was fine with it. I didn't have any problems with it at all, unless you decide to do one green, white, checkered restart 1 and one green, white, checkered restart 2.
Well, that was my issue with the way it shook out. My issue with it originally is it 5 races to go in this season. You don't change a major rule like that. That's my point. But it is Brian France.
Yeah, and again, we talked about this last weekend, but I don't have a problem with it because I don't think it's one of those rules that needs a lot of prep. It was something that they changed like on Monday or Tuesday of that race, and so the drivers had plenty of time to say, we're only going to have one green, white, checkered. So when that last caution waves, I know this is the last one. There's no more strategy that needs to go into it. Everything's all set. And in fact, it may help them a little bit because they know that for their pit strategy that there's only going to be one green, white, checkered unless they decide to do a second only one green,
unless
white,
you're Greg Biffle.
That poor guy. He was so close.
Oh, close.
And so the first green, white, checkered happened, and I'm pretty mixed on this because they throw the green flag, they go through the restart zone, and who was it that didn't get going? Was it Harvick? It wasn't Harvick.
They said originally they thought Logano spun the tires.
That's right. They thought Logano spun the tires. Jimmy Johnson got pile drive. He goes to the infield, into the infield, and Kyle Larson flies to the outside, regains it, comes back across the field. They throw the caution before the field crosses the start-finish line. There's no question to that. The field had not crossed the start line, so NASCAR said that wasn't a full attempt. So we're going to re-rack them and do it again.
Write the rules as you're rolling, because when the green flag comes out, that's why they call it the restart zone. That's where the race starts and restarts, not at the start-finish line.
But they don't count the lap at that restart zone. That is just when the leader has the time to go. That is where the race starts. But it's not. They don't start counting the lap there, and they don't finish the lap there. I mean, that's the restart zone. I know, I'm arguing another point, but I also agree with you in the same sense. Because it's a gray area again, and NASCAR shouldn't be living in a gray area.
It's not a gray area. NASCAR made it a gray area with their decision.
Yeah. Never before have they said, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
But then again, they
didn't mean it.
But this is the part of NASCAR I like, because they will look at a situation, and it's the part of NASCAR that you don't like. Because I like it when NASCAR looks at a situation and says, we feel like this is the right thing to do. Right or wrong, they will change a rule or change their interpretation of a rule to be able to fit the best situation.
I didn't disagree when they allowed Kyle Busch to race for the championship this year, even though he hadn't made all the starts like you're supposed to, because as far as I'm concerned, they didn't have the safer barriers of Daytona, which they own the speedway, so they should have been there. So they caused him to miss races.
Right.
Now, letting Kurt Busch in when he was in legal water, I don't agree with that.
We're going to go back over this. Again, I agree with it because it ended up turning out that Kurt Busch did nothing wrong in that situation.
Exactly.
And he would have missed the chase. And he would have missed out on all this, and his sponsors and his team. And there was a lot of money that would have been missed out on something that NASCAR did the right situation in pulling him off the track. And then saying, you're exonerated, go out and win a race or qualify for the chase and you're in.
To me, they shouldn't have pulled him off the track until he was, convicted.
Tell the NFL that with Ray Rice and that whole situation that exploded. And I think that's the reason why they pulled him off the track, because of the backlash that happened with the NFL, knowing there was a videotape out there and knowing everything that happened, but they still didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, but there was no videotape occurred anywhere.
Right. And we're going over something.
It was a he said, she said.
That's long done. But anyways, Okay. So now we're going to do the second restart. Now, go back to that first restart. Kevin Harvick knows his engine's laying down.
Oh, yeah. He said it with, 8-10 laps to go. Yeah. Thought he was blowing up.
Right. Somehow that engine stays together at Talladega. I mean, to go 3, 4, 5 laps at those RPMs, at that consistent
in the draft,
lack of air getting into it, amazing that engine stayed together. Kudos to Chevy, by the way, coming from a Ford guy. And so he pulls to the outside. I couldn't believe he pulled out during that first attempt at the restart. The whole wreck happens. No restart. It freezes the field. It's almost like when somebody jumps to start in the dirt track, everybody's locked in their positions. Kevin says several times, I don't think you guys understand. I've got the throttle fully pressed, and I'm going nowhere. Yep. I'm maintaining this caution speed. So then the restart happens, and Kevin doesn't pull out. Instead, he stays tucked in like everyone else is, tucked in line. That doesn't surprise me at all. Later on, the audio comes out. Kevin had actually asked his spotter to ask the 6's spotter to bump him and get him going. Hearing that, I'm sitting here thinking, Kevin's expecting the 6 to give him a bump. The 6 doesn't. The 6 cuts outside towards the outside retaining wall and tries to go to the outside. From there, it's interpretation to the whatever clip you've seen, whatever grudges you hold against what driver, it's all up to interpretation. I can't believe Kevin pulled out in that first place. I fully support him staying in there in the second place, in the second attempt.
Well, the second attempt, like you said, he stayed in place until it was time to spin the 6. And he can tell me, 150 million times that he didn't do it on purpose, but he did. I just want to. You think he did? He's the only one that knows it, but he's never going to admit it because there's a chance that if he admits it, NASCAR could go back and change something. Exactly.
And so he'll always take that, maybe years down the line when it doesn't matter, eons when he's, about to pass away or whatever. He may say something in a book or something like that, but he's never going to admit it in a timely manner.
Well, exactly. He's not going to admit it before next Saturday anywhere, next Sunday.
Right. Before today at Martinsville.
After Sunday, it doesn't matter.
Right. Well, I don't know. Let's not give NASCAR the opportunity to change anything.
I don't think they'll go back a whole week. If they did something to him at that point, he could be the random teardown.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he could see the ire of the tech officials for the next couple of weeks. So I don't blame him at all for what he did. I think he did the absolutely right thing. If it was me in that situation, yeah, maybe it's a bit of a dirty move and drivers aren't going to like it, but let's say he did wreck the 6 on purpose. The guy is fighting for a championship.
Absolutely.
This is what I want out of my drivers. I don't want somebody that's going to pull to the outside and let the field go by when I'm 6-7 points to the good to make it into the chase, and all of a sudden as the field gets up to speed, I'm out of it and I'm way behind.
Yep.
He owes it to everybody on that Ford team. He owes it to his sponsors. He owes it to his wife, to his car owners. He owes it to a lot of people, including himself, to give it a shot. And he gave it a shot, and it paid off. I mean, let's face it. If that
huge,
If that would have gone green, I don't think he would have finished anywhere close to the top 30, top 35. I mean, there was still a lot of cars left out on the track, and so I think Harvick would have just fallen back. But that's a big risk because could everybody have avoided him?
Well, he probably would have finished in the top 30 because I think there were 27 or 28 cars on the lead lap, so he would have stayed there, but he wouldn't have made the chase.
No.
And no, I doubt everybody could have avoided him. I don't care where he went because everybody would have been scrambling for a spot or two. Somebody would have hit him somewhere.
Yeah. Let's cover one last thing. In no way was Kevin Harvick required to get off the track.
Oh, absolutely not.
He wasn't laying any oil down. He wasn't under caution pace speed. He was maintaining the speed like NASCAR requires him.
At the last point under the green he had been.
According to the current rules, NASCAR was not required in any way to get him off the track.
No.
Even though he was radioing in that he thought his engine was laying down, NASCAR feels he has every right to try to finish that race. We've seen it before where drivers feel like their engine's laying down, but NASCAR doesn't black flag them until it actually happens.
Yep, until either parts start coming off or, like you said, until they're spitting out some oil, until there's a reason that they are literally a detriment to the other cars on the track.
And then the final part of it is, maybe you can help me out with this, but to my understanding, there is nowhere in the rule book that says you cannot wreck somebody.
Well, that's seems to be the plan. It wouldn't have been the first time it happened. I mean,
now,
that's the boys have at it.
You're absolutely right. Now, there is limitations to that. I don't think Kevin Harvick was doing anything with intent to hurt. You know, what we've seen since the boys have at it is that NASCAR will come down heavy on a driver when they retaliate on pit road or something happens on pit road, because then there are lives at risk.
Well, you've got a lot of unprotected people at that point. Might be like Matt Kenseth a year ago where he'd already undone his belts. You know, all these guys were strapped into the race car. There was no crewman or anything around that were going to be put in danger. And obviously, we've seen cars get up into catch fence and, injure some spectators, but not at that speed.
So, according to the rule book, Kevin Harvick did nothing wrong. And I think NASCAR feels like that, and they put out a statement later this week that said, basically we understand that Dale Jr. fans, the fan base, Junior Nation, is upset with the ruling because the caution came out at a certain time and their driver got eliminated. We completely understand that, but that's just the nature of the game. And by the way, I'll try to say, we should say something to Rick about it in the next term when he joins us, Rick Allen, about they did a fantastic job of explaining why the caution came out when it did. It didn't come out because of the wreck. It came out because NASCAR felt that the safety officials needed to get to those drivers that were affected. Remember, Denny Hamlin was a giant fireball at one point in time during that, and the caution waived. Had it happened 100 laps later, 150 yards later, I think Dale Jr. would have been your winner of that race. But they felt they needed to throw the caution then so that the safety officials could get to those drivers that were wrecked. It had nothing to do with an obscured racing surface. I thought NBC did a great job of that.
Yeah, they did. It still didn't stop me from yelling at the TV.
By the way, I'm driving back from Kansas City last Sunday from the Chiefs game, and I'd ask you because I had no data because I was in Arrowhead Stadium, so I couldn't get any kind of data. There was no Pi left for the wireless connection to be able to get updates on what was going on with the race. I was getting no emails. I couldn't get anything. I was in a blackout. It was irritating, but I could get cell phone. I could get text messages. So I said, please keep me updated with what's going on. And I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to it on MRM, but I'm also getting entertained by your texts. And my phone wouldn't quit.
And drive.
I wasn't reading them. Sarah wouldn't let me, but my phone wouldn't quit vibrating for a while. I finally looked at her and I go, Dirk is freaking out right now. And I gave her my phone and she goes, 14 new text messages. So thank you for that, by the way. That was pretty entertaining. But so that was Talladega, and what a race. And then they had to to build the suspense of who got in. We knew right away that Dale was out because he had to win that race to get in. The question was when they threw the caution, where were they at the last timing loop, all that stuff. And eventually they were able to settle it that Joey Logano won the race. By the way, 3 races in a row, that's unheard of.
Well, it's not unheard of, but in the chase it definitely is. But they, as silly as it sounds, that was one of the most entertaining races I've seen in a while.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there were no cautions and Junior'd go out and get the lead, and then he'd screw up on the pit stop just trying to get to pit road, something he's done a half a gazillion times, but he'd blister the tires and smoke them, and then he'd come in and have to get all new tires and head back out, and then he'd be out in 6th or 7th or 8th place, and he'd have to fight through the crowd again. I mean, it was an entertaining race if you like racing. Mm-hmm. Now, if you don't like racing, nothing's gonna make you like that. If you're a golf fan, it was but it was good racing, and a lot of it. And I wish it would have gone all the way to the end. It did. I don't remember what year they said. I want to say like 2002 or something. They went literally. There was one green, white checker. It was start to finish.
Yeah.
With no caution. And I wish this race would have gone that way, because I do think Junior would have won at that point. I
think he had the best car, hands down. But unfortunately, he just wasn't able to get the start. And But so. Earnhardt, Kenseth, Hamlin, and Newman all get eliminated from this year's chase. They're now battling for 5th place. Kind of a surprise, Matt Kenseth, who before Joey Logano won at Talladega had the most races won in the year. I think he had 5, was the driver that got eliminated. So we've seen a couple of big names get eliminated, but I think the contender round was where we expected to see a couple of big names like Dale Jr., like Matt Kenseth, and Denny Hamlin, although we kind of expected maybe Ryan Newman would be able to last another round.
Well, I didn't think Ryan Newman would last another round, but I didn't think Denny Hamlin would be in this round.
Yeah. And
the way the very first race started, when he was a lap down 3 laps into the race, I was looking like a genius, and then he comes back and wins it. So, yeah. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with these races. That's why, I watch them. I watched just about every lap for the last 6 races. I didn't see every lap at Kansas because we left with 20 laps to go to beat traffic. But
boy, did we miss something.
Yeah.
At least I missed it. I think you were still sitting in the media center watching the whole thing. But holy hand. And by the way, when you talk about being mad at Kevin Harvick for if he did wreck Trevor Bayne on purpose, you got to be mad at Joey Logano for wrecking Matt Kenseth on purpose, because I think we all could have come to the logical conclusion that Joey wrecked Matt, A, because he was blocking, and B, because if Matt would have won that race, we'd be talking about Matt Kenseth still in this chase and still having a chance to stop Joey Logano from winning it. As it turns out, that was a good strategy, and Matt's out of the chase.
Yeah, I mean, Matt said after the interview on Sunday at Talladega that he did not have a car to win that race, And, it's tough for a driver to ever say that. But, after the race, it was obviously, to him that, he kind of ended up where he belonged on Sunday, but this will be interesting this week to see where Joey Logano ends up, because I know where Matt Kenseth thinks he belongs.
Well, that's something that we could talk about in turn 4, but Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano, it's going to be interesting over the next couple of races, because I think there's some scores to be settled, and today's the track to do it.
Well, there'll be a lot of scores to be settled, because now you got Denny Hamlin not real happy with the 4 car.
Right.
So who knows what's going to happen there.
Trevor Bayne's probably not happy with the 4 car.
It's not near as, what the other is, but again, he's not going to be happy. Yeah. So you might see him retaliate, even though that might be one of the few people that Kevin Harvick could handle if it came down to a fisticuffs battle, because Ricky Stenhouse is not a very big man.
Well, Trevor Bayne.
Trevor Bayne.
Speaking of Ricky Stenhouse, by the way, one of our listeners and one of the contestants in the Pick'ems contest dropped off a front fender of Ricky's from, he believes it was the April Texas race.
Really?
And we're going to take that with us probably to Kansas Speedway in May of next year and try to get Ricky to autograph it, and then we'll give it away as a part of the prize pack for next year's Pick'ems contest. So get signed up early for that 2016 Pick'ems contest.
Man cave item.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's sitting in my basement right now with some of the other things that won't fit in the prize vault, because the prize vault's not very big. It's just big enough for hero cards and that kind of stuff. But all right, so Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, and Joey Logano all move on to the Eliminator round. Everybody is reset at 4,000. No matter what Joey has done for the last 3 races, it doesn't matter. Starting with today, it's what have you done for me lately, and Joey's got to go back out there and keep winning.
Now, we're not being reset in the Pick'ems contest, are we?
Nope, not in the Pick'ems contest.
That's good. I like leading.
I couldn't. Yeah, you're actually doing really well. And by the way, what a tough thing for David Adams. He sent me a text message, or I sent him an email. I said, hey, buddy, I didn't happen to get your pick today, because he was the Pick'ems leader going into Talladega. He had a 19-point lead. He was so comfortable. That's a lot of points to make up in 5 races. And he forgot to send his pick. He did an all-night softball league and didn't get home until like 5 o'clock in the morning, laid down to take a nap, slept right through Talladega, and forgot to send his pick. So he's back in 6th. I think he's 11 points out. Not too much of an obstacle or gap to make up. But if you were involved in that, you would have, what you said, a 24-point lead?
Yeah, I believe it was 24 points.
All right, we've taken a long time in turn number 1. We got to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. Rick Allen will join us to talk about what he saw from the booth and his thoughts on the next couple of races. Again, in turn number 3, we'll talk to Jimmy Small from Iowa Speedway, and in turn 4, we will preview Martinsville. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
This is Andrew from Kosiski Auto Parts. Kosiski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kosiski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kosiski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kosiski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts, online at Kosiski.com, located at 51st and I Street in Omaha. 731-4592 is the number you need to call if you need to get your car or truck back on the road at an affordable price. Team PRP backs up all of the parts that you get at Kosiski Auto Parts, locally owned, locally operated for several years here in the Omaha area. Give them a call today. Talk to Andrew or any one of the highly qualified technicians at 731-4592. Joining us on the phone from NBCSN, the booth announcer for the NASCAR broadcasts over the last couple of weeks and for the next few weeks as the NASCAR season winds down, Nebraska's very own Rick Allen. How you doing, sir?
I'm great. You just mentioned Kosiski, and I remember calling Ed Kosiski's name when he won the national championship back when I was calling races at Eagle Raceway. So you flashed me all the way back a few years.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah, it's when you talk about Kosiski's winning, you got to narrow it down to which one and
That's
which
right.
track and which car number, and even today, we just finished up our season a couple of weeks ago at I-80 Speedway, which the Kosiski's own now, and watching Steve's son and Joe's son battle for the win. It was really cool to watch that 52 and 53 go at it.
Incredible amount of talent in that family. There's no question about it.
Absolutely. It's I hearken. Maybe I'm stepping outside of my bounds a little bit, but I call them the Earnhardts of dirt racing. So it's
hey, that's awesome. I mean, they've had a lot of success. You definitely need to throw that name out there.
Well, you were definitely a busy bee Sunday in the studio or in the broadcast booth. I got to give you guys a lot of credit. There was a lot going on, and you handled it like the professionals you guys are. You had to have just a ton of information coming to you, especially on that last lap with producers in your ear and trying to get the official ruling from NASCAR's as far as what happened on that last lap and a half.
Yeah, Dan, what we want to do is make sure that everything we give is accurate. We don't want to make any mistakes as far as accuracy, trying to be fast with it. So I know this sport moves at 200 miles an hour, but what we want to make sure is that we give all of the fans the information that they have to know and need to know, but we want to make sure that it's the right information.
Yeah.
So at the end of that race, we wanted to make sure that we got it right. So that's why it took so long to get the information out as far as who the 8 were, because NASCAR's got to go back to video to make sure they find out exactly where all the finishing positions were.
And you guys could really cause a bit of a storm inadvertently saying something, and then all of a sudden with social media today, it's fact, even though it may have just been your opinion at the time or your perception of what happened at the time.
Yeah, it's changed. I mean, social media has changed. And as a matter of fact, people are getting very savvy. I had a guy, question me because he said, well, I'm looking at the TV and I'm pausing my television right when the yellow light came on the TV. And when I did that, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in the lead. I said, well, I responded back to him. I said, the television is not the official yellow light. It's the ones that are on the track. And I said, you've got to go by that. That's what we did. We went by the lights on the track. When that yellow light came on, the very second that it came on, the 22 was in front of the 88, and there's just no question about that. That is a fact. And so Joey Logano ends up winning the race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finishes second. It's not enough. He doesn't advance into the third round for the championship, so he's out of the playoffs. Logano is the hot guy right now, looking for a championship, and there's 7 guys in that third round that are hunting for the title as well.
What a magnanimous way for Dale Jr. to sit on pit road, swallow the pain of missing out on a championship or a chance at a championship, and really take the high road. You don't see that a lot when that much is on the line.
You're right, and that's the class act that he is, and I think everybody appreciates that. That's probably one of the reasons why he's been, the fan favorite for, 11 years running or so. It's because he is a classy guy. He realized also that, he ran the greatest race he could run. I mean, he got mired back. He, with pit road penalties, he was able to come forward. He did everything he had to do, with the exception of, being in front of Joey Logano when that yellow light came on. And that's, almost out of his control. Amazingly enough, and it's surprising that Joey Logano chose to have Brad Keselowski behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon was behind Joey Logano on that restart, which you had opposite teammates behind each other for the restart. But Joey Logano chose it that way, and it ended up happening in Joey Logano's favor that he ends up getting the win.
Yeah, what a finish. And it's added for 2 weeks of off race day controversy, conversation, water cooler talk. Do you think this is exactly what NASCAR was hoping for when they created this system, that drivers would really be laying it all on the line and using strategy and kind of stirring things up a little bit and not playing the points game?
Absolutely. I mean, I think they're doing whatever they have to do to advance. And we saw that a year ago with Ryan Newman. He ran Kyle Larson into the wall at Phoenix because he knew that was the only way he was going to be able to advance. And so he did it. And we saw Kevin Harvick stay in line at Talladega because he knew that was the only way he was going to be able to advance. I think if Kevin Harvick wasn't in the title hunt, if he wasn't in the playoffs, Kevin Harvick would have moved to the outside, let everybody go because he knew his car wasn't going to get up to speed. But in the situation that he was in, he had to fight for every single position. If that race goes green and he's not able to get up to speed, Kevin Harvick's not in the hunt of this thing anymore, and he's not in the title hunt. So he did what he had to do. He's still in a championship run. He can still defend his title.
Jeff Gordon is one of the 8 that moved on to the Eliminator round, which starts today at Martinsville. Jeff said that if he makes it to the Eliminator round, watch out, because this championship is as good as his. With his struggles throughout the year to put up a win, and his struggles at time really to have a top 15 car, do you think that he really could actually advance to Homestead and have a shot at this?
Absolutely. Here's a guy who announced his retirement at the beginning of the year, and now he's sitting in a position with 4 races to go. The first one of the 4 is a racetrack that he's won numerous times. I mean, he is as good as anybody when you go to Martinsville. Here's a guy he's definitely got success. He's got a chance to win this title. We go to Texas next, then Phoenix. I mean, Jeff Gordon could play out the best finish ever for a sports, personality, where he announces his retirement at the beginning of the year and ends up winning the title at the end of the year. I mean, that would be an incredible feat if Jeff Gordon's able to do it, and he definitely has a chance to do that.
With all the announcements, let me go back. With Hendrick being as good as they are at Martinsville, it plays into Jeff's possibility of winning the race today, because now all 3 Hendrick cars could essentially help Jeff, maybe not through on-track work, but technological and advice and setups, and everybody he's now got all of Hendrick Motorsports working to make sure he wins today.
Yeah, and that's a great team. And they've had incredible success at Martinsville. I mean, with the exception of Denny winning there earlier in the spring, I mean, it's pretty much been Hendrick dominated. So between Jimmy and Dale Earnhardt Jr. winning, Jeff definitely is going to have a ton of help there. And like you said, it was in all the practices, building up, qualifying, everything. He's had help all the way through the weekend. Now on the track, it's really in his hands. And he's shown that he has, the talent that he can do it. He can go out there, he can win at Martinsville. And if he does, he gets, his ticket punched into the championship round, which is Homestead, and he's one of 4 that have a chance at that title. And I definitely think that he's in a great position to do that.
Kyle Busch is another one of those drivers that he's had historical difficulties during the chase with the new format. The contender round seems to be his toughest round, and he's made it through. When he made it back from his injury, he was white hot, but he seems to have cooled off lately. Do you think he can get that fire back, that drive back that he had when he first got into or came back from his injury?
I think he can. I think what's happened, though, is now he's in a position where he's going to a racetrack that he's never won. He's never won at Martinsville in the Cup Series. So he's going there, and there might be a little bit of doubt in his mind. And here's a situation where if you put any doubt in Kyle Busch's mind, that plays within him to where it will eat at him. And if that eats at him too much and he doesn't get a good finish at Martinsville, then he's going to start pushing harder. And when he goes to Texas, and when you go to Phoenix, he continues to push harder and harder. So he's going to have a good finish at Martinsville. If he doesn't have a good finish at Martinsville today, then I would expect him to probably start to falter when it comes to Texas and Phoenix. If he has a good finish at Martinsville, I would say look out. I would say he would be one of the favorites going into Homestead, because if he can finish Martinsville strong, going to Texas he can do well. He's won there. And then Phoenix, if he gets through Phoenix, Homestead is a racetrack where he definitely can get to victory lane and could claim his first championship.
This eliminator round, with as good as Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers are at Phoenix, is everybody saying Martinsville and Texas is my opportunity to win?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it is. I think the other 7 guys have got to say, okay, we know we have to go to Martinsville and have to go to Texas and have good races, because Harvick is going to be dominant when we go to Phoenix. And if he's not dominant, he's definitely going to be a contender for the win. So they know going in that that's one competitor that's going to be there when they get to the last race, that cut race of this 3rd round of the playoffs. When we get there, Harvick is definitely going to be strong. So everybody else has to look at these first 2 races as their opportunity to punch their ticket before they get to Phoenix.
We haven't really talked much about Joey Logano. Unheard of. We're only in the 2nd year of this system, but he's won 3 races in the contender round. He is white hot right now. Do you think he's got a great possibility of tying, if not beating, Tony Stewart's record of 5 race wins during the 2011 chase?
I definitely think that. I mean, he is really, really strong right now. And I think everybody had him at least in the Final 4. If they didn't, it would be a surprise. I mean, he's been one of the most talented on the track all year long. And so I think he's got to be one of the favorites going in. If he can get 2 more wins, 3 more wins, yeah. I mean, he's doing something that we didn't think would ever happen, and have somebody win, more than 5 races in the chase, the final 10 races of the season. But Joey Logano could do it. I mean, the guy is really talented. He's coming into his own. He and his teammate are working well together. Penske's extremely strong. Ford has been strong. I think he's in a great position to win the title.
If you don't mind me putting you on the spot a little bit, who do you see as the 4 drivers at Homestead?
I would say Kevin Harvick's going to be there. Joey Logano will be there. I think Kyle Busch is probably going to be there. And then the sleeper, the surprise guy that I think gets in on points is going to be Martin Truex Jr. Wow. I think that will be the 4th that will be in there. They're starting to find some consistency again. I see them advancing into that final round and having a shot at the title.
Rick Allen, you can hear him on the broadcast today for the Goodies Headache Relief Shot 500 at Martinsville. Coverage starts at 11:45 on NBCSN, and the radio broadcast on MRN. Green flag just after noon at about 12:15. Rick, always do love having you on the show. We can't wait to talk to you again with the season wrap-up when we're talking about a championship.
Looking forward to it, Dan. Thank you.
Have a good one. Thanks, bud.
Bye-bye.
If you don't have it yet, call your cable provider and get NBCSN. These guys are doing the absolutely best race coverage that I could hope for as a NASCAR fan. Every single time that they take the broadcast, I learn something new. I figure out a new way that these drivers and these crew chiefs are getting the races won through Steve Letarte and Jeff Burton, his co-hosts up in the booth, and they do an absolutely fantastic job. All right, we're going to come back in turn number 3. We're going to talk to Iowa Speedway President Jimmy Small. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 3, and joining us on the hotline is the president for Iowa Speedway and a good friend of ours, good friend of the show, Jimmy Small. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. How about you guys?
We are loving the fall weather here in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's a little cold, I can't say too soon. We've had a wonderfully long summer, and I think I took it for granted there towards the end. So I've got 2 coats on right now, and I'm in my office at the Speedway.
And who knows what it's going to do over the next couple of weeks. We could have another heat wave roll through.
I know.
Well, you get to kind of breathe a little sigh of relief. The news is finally out. Iowa Speedway's 2016 race weekends are announced for the most part, and you guys are all set to go. You have doubled down for Father's Day weekend. Going to have the Camping World Truck Series and the NASCAR Xfinity Series same weekend. That'll be a big weekend for you guys.
It will be, and in honor of celebrating Father's Day, we're hoping new fathers like Kyle Busch, and oh gosh, that's probably it for now off the top of my head on new fathers this season. But there seem to be so many these days. But we'd love to see them come out and celebrate Father's Day with us by racing in one of the 2 races that weekend. So it's really exciting. We didn't know if we'd ever get this opportunity to put the Xfinity Series event with the Camping World Truck Series event, and just a couple of things had to happen this season or this off season for us to immediately commit to a date like that. We love the idea of pairing those together for the first time in track history, and knowing that the time that our fans spend at this racetrack is time that could be spent elsewhere, and they're some of the best, most loyal fans in sports, and to deliver that kind of value for a 2-day weekend or 3-day weekend if they want to come camp with us is really something we're so incredibly excited to have out there now. Like you guys said, we can finally talk about it.
Anybody booked up for the Father's Day weekend concerts yet?
We're in the process of looking at what entertainment features will be available for each event weekend next year. So, like we sort of discussed a few minutes ago, we remain pretty tight-lipped on who can find out and who can know our schedule even the minute before it's released. So, now that we've got it out there, we can go talk to some of the folks here locally and nationally to see what can be available. But it's certainly our intent to bring more big entertainment back to the Speedway next year and do it each and every weekend.
Listen, if you need any help, Jimmy, I could play a mean air guitar.
So can I. I actually had a colleague of mine in Daytona at corporate. He sent me a photo. It was hilarious. It was sort of a rack, and it said free air guitars, and it was like an empty bike rack, and I thought that was really neat.
Well, maybe we may
install one of those here.
Maybe we could do an air guitar challenge between the 2 of us one of these days.
Well, I'm going to get a warm-up here on Friday because we're going to have our annual costume contest here internally at the Speedway, and we're actually doing a lip sync contest, and I'm only one of 3 or 4 that have actually made a bid to win this thing. I don't like to lose here at anything, and so I'm firmly committed to doing everything I can to win on Friday. So I'll have a leg up on you.
When you're going at it really hard, if you need any air guitar strings, I got a sale going on those right now.
All right. If I break through any of this Friday going too hard, I'll let you know.
He'll cut you a really good deal.
Get a hangnail or something.
That is wide open weekend set for June 18th and 19th at Iowa Speedway. Camping World Truck Series and the Xfinity Series will be heading to the fastest short track on the planet. And then I got to notice just a little bit later that the Verizon IndyCar Series set to return to Iowa Speedway again. That's going to happen on July 10th. Personally, I'm very excited that you guys were able to move that up a weekend because I had to miss out on it this year because we have a big local race that weekend. So I'm hoping that since you guys moved up the Iowa Corn 300, that I'll be able to come see that race again.
Yeah, we were actually a couple of notes there. I was at the state capitol for Iowa here in Des Moines on Monday, celebrating with we only have one home track, NASCAR home track here in the state, and it's an Adams County Speedway down in Corning, Iowa. And I think the driver's name was Glenn Denning. Paul Glenn Denning was his name, and really, really neat guy. It was his second championship, and he actually brought up that we should be giving him tickets to celebrate his championship. And he made a really good point. And I said, we'll help you out there. And then it came up that, hey, are you guys racing on Sunday at all this year? Because I can't come usually on Saturday nights. And so it's not something we're targeting first and foremost, but we do like that, we'll have 2 big time races on Sundays next summer to allow for folks that maybe have Saturday commitments and can't make it out to the Speedway for the big IndyCar or big Xfinity race to have the chance to do that. So really neat. And then, like you said, moving back a week from where we were this year was really important to us, along with pairing up the Xfinity Series and Truck Series, because those are 2 weekends that we certainly see, and so do NASCAR and so do IndyCar as being our other 2 big dates, weekends that we can put a lot of equity in, like we've done with that weekend at the end of July with the U.S. Cellular 250. So our aim would be to continue, these strong, 3 weekends moving into the future. And then if other opportunities to add races to those weekends or, come up with a 4th weekend in the future, we're certainly open to that as well. But we love having the opportunity to really put our dates or put more of our dates, really on the calendars of more fans.
Yeah, you were perfectly right about calling Paul a great guy, because he really is. I've known him for 20-plus years through my tech official duties with the old Busch All-Star Tour. And
that's neat.
Been down to Adams Corning many times. It's a great track. When you get some time on some odd Saturday there during the summer, you ought to swing out there and check a race out yourself.
Oh, I certainly will. I talked to our friends down in Daytona that oversee that whole home tracks program and weekly and touring series, and they talk very highly of that track. And I'm actually trying to get to Charlotte here in a few weeks to maybe even sneak a trophy presentation with Paul on the grand stage there for the national banquet. So I definitely need to get down there, and I will do that next spring, certainly.
Yeah, Adams County and then I-80 Speedway, which is the one I work for over here in Nebraska, is your 2 home tracks. And I was actually really excited. I actually became an official NASCAR
ambassador.
This year. And so I posted on Facebook a couple of days ago. Because I'd done the whole ambassador program for the home track, that I got this nice cooler that I'm going to bring with me to Iowa Speedway this year, or in 2016, and then a nice tumbler. So I'm all set with all my official NASCAR stuff.
Well, you better put your name on it, because we all have those here as well. We're all NASCAR members as well. So you don't want to bring that without your name on it, because one of us might pick it up.
I don't want kind of thieving people over there at Iowa Speedway with the NASCAR stuff.
No, it's an honest mistake here in Iowa.
Oh yeah.
Now we've got a buddy of ours from here in Omaha named Mark Wolf, is the backup fueler for Kevin Harvick, and he got his helmet stolen at a race this summer. Really? So, yeah.
It's really amazing what people will walk away with just nonchalantly.
It certainly is. I don't know if I have any good stories there, but none come to mind at the moment, but I'm sure I've heard a few.
Well, let's cover one more big subject. It's always off-season changes for the tracks. Maybe some upgrades you guys are doing, or maybe it's just going to be status quo. Everything's running good for you guys at the tracks. So can you let us on any kind of upgrades you're doing, any new things that fans are going to see at Iowa Speedway for 2016?
Well, it's sort of cheap for me to say it, but they are going to see new things, and they are going to see more enhancements made across the spectrum of the fan experience, including more benefits that go to our season ticket holders that have been supporting us for so long, and then more reasons to come out here if you're an avid fan that maybe hasn't been to a racetrack in a little while. Maybe you want to come out and you want to camp, and now that Camping World Truck Series and Xfinity Series are together, that Saturday night would be a lot of fun for us all to hang out here on the property. Concert features we talked about a little bit earlier. Those are what we're looking into right now that we can have our schedule out there and really talk firm dates. But, they'll expect more of the same in terms of us being innovative and doing everything we can to drive value for our fans. That's what's most important to us, and we think we delivered. Think is the wrong word there. I know we delivered. We know we delivered on a really power-packed weekend that we think is going to be responded to very well by our fans, and we'll spend the next 6, 7, 8 months getting ready for everyone's visit. It's a big house party here, and we got to play a good host.
We're working on some stuff on our end to give some of the racing fans around here that participate in our fantasy games a little extra experience over there at your Speedway here next summer.
That'd be great.
We're trying to give away a crewman for a day promotion, so we're working with a couple of different teams to be able to lock that down. So we want to do it at Iowa Speedway because you guys have such a great facility there, and it's very homely. It's a great view anywhere you sit. It's a fantastic facility. I love going there. I think it's a perfect mix between a dirt track and a full speed asphalt track.
Well, you guys always have a knack for making me blush on the phone, but certainly appreciate your support and thinking of us with bringing more new fans or fans that have been out here before, bringing them back. That's something we're excited to hear.
Can't wait for 2016. Jimmy Small, we love having you on the show. Have a good off season, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Dan and Dirk, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Bye-bye.
So iowaspeedway.com. Simple web address. You can head over there and pick up your season tickets. I think they're actually still working on finishing all the details for the rest of their announcements on their weekend, so you can't buy season tickets yet. But we talked to them last year at this time about the season tickets, and I think if my math is correct, for all the races they had, it came out to be about $30 a race if you bought season tickets there.
Oh, and if you throw the concerts in, you're down to about $10 an event.
And they had some great. Montgomery Gentry was there last year, a terrific band. I think Blues Traveler has been there. They had some great artists that came through and played for the race weekends. And
they've had Kelly Pickler there before. Mm-hmm. That was the first one I saw when I was there. I don't know, it's been 6-7 years ago, I think, but. Yeah, they get talent.
It'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. So again, iowaspeedway.com to get more information on that. We'll come back in turn number 4. We will preview Martinsville. This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Heading into turn number 4 here on the front stretch. Just about ready to wrap this baby up. Turn 4 brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Did you happen to see the pictures from last Monday's trunk or treat event they did at Quaker Steak and Lube?
No, I have not.
There had to have been about 1.5 million children running around. I mean...
Well, that's what it's about, man.
So if you've ever been to Quaker Steak and Lube, especially on Bike Night, Classic Car Night, you know that because they block off the concrete parking next to the restaurant for that said event. So Bike Night for the bikes, whatever. And then the customers park in the grassy area to the south.
Yep.
I'm not kidding you when I tell you that entire grassy area all the way to the interstate was full of cars. They were parking to the north along that access road that goes to the Budweiser factory. The Budweiser, I don't know what that is. They actually...
Distributorship.
Distributorship, okay.
Yeah.
So they were parked. I mean, it was absolutely packed. And they're going to do another one. This time it's going to be changed up a little bit. And I think it's going on November... is it actually going on tomorrow? I'll have to check while we're in this turn. I'll try to get you that information. But it's a kids bingo night. They're doing a lot of really fun things down at Quaker Steak and Lube before. Monday night is kids' night, so they always have Anthony, the balloon tire dude thing.
Balloon animals.
Thank you. And they have all sorts of great stuff out there. So get to Quaker Steak and Lube today for the Goodies Headache Relief Shot 500 at Martinsville. That's going to kick off at 12:15 is when the green flag is set to wave. Coverage starts at 11:45 on NBCSN and MRN. And then, yes, it is tomorrow for the Kids Bingo Night, so make sure you head over to Quaker Steak and Lube at Council Bluffs tomorrow night for the Kids Bingo Night. You can find them on Facebook for more information on that. All right, let's talk about Martinsville, the race today. Usually when you talk about the race after Talladega, that maybe drivers can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, but like we talked about back in turn number 1, I think Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano are two guys that really can't breathe any kind of a sigh of relief, and maybe they've been spending their week the last couple of days at Martinsville talking to a couple of the drivers they made mad over the last couple of rounds and trying to hash things over and kind of smooth things out.
Well, I think their cars are probably going to look a lot like they're sponsored by Target. Unofficially. I mean, they're, I don't think they'll be able to smooth that over. I mean, it's going to happen in the next 3 races sometime, but I would think possibly in all 3 races.
And you're thinking today, the lowest of the speeds for the next 3 tracks, the least likely that somebody can get hurt if you do retaliate. So today's kind of a day that I think if the situation arises, something's going to happen. But then again, we say that, and then it's a calm race. So you can never predict what these guys are going to do. No,
you can't, just because sponsors will be involved. And obviously sponsors are losing advertising on Hamlin's car. They're losing advertising. They're not losing advertising, but they're losing TV time on Kent's car, and they're losing TV time on Hamlin's car. But they also might say you're not going to do anything about it. And if they make that call, there's nothing that's going to be done about it.
Yeah. And so then we can even go further into Denny Hamlin's situation, that if he takes out or has contact with Kevin Harvick, that helps his 2 teammates that are still in the chase, Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch. And if Matt Kenseth happens to decide he's going to retaliate, then again that helps his. So those both teammates could do something that could really shake it up and help their teammates in the process. There's a lot of stuff that's going into this strategy-wise. This is no longer the NASCAR that people hated, where it was points racing and let's stay smart. There's a lot more strategy and a lot more deep thinking that goes into this now.
Yeah, like Joey Logano's deep thinking for the last 3 races. Go win.
Let's talk about that. Man, what a run for him. 3 races in a row that he's won. He didn't fall into any of them. He definitely had great cars. Maybe he didn't have the greatest car at Talladega, but he put himself in the opportunity to win. He's white hot going into it, and this is a run that is very reminiscent for me of the 2011 run for Tony Stewart in his championship bid, winning 5 of the 10 chase races.
Except when Tony won 5, he didn't do anything the other 5.
That's right. That's the reason why he had to win 5, was because he coughed it up the other 5 and did terrible at the other times. He finished like 40th, 41st, 38th. I mean, it was terrible racing, the other races, and so then he had to go back out there and win those races, and then he still only tied with Carl Edwards, getting the tiebreaker and winning a championship.
Well, and what it amounted to is basically that the Homestead race for him that year was just, like the Eliminator stuff has been with the Chase.
Yeah.
The guy that wins Homestead wins a championship. And
that was such a great race, and we're lining up for it again. By the way, we got the notice last week that Phoenix was sold out. We imagine that, or was it I think Homestead sold out, and I think Phoenix announced just a week after that last year that they had sold out. So Texas may be your last opportunity to go see a race in this 2015 season if you're not already headed down to Martinsville. For the Pick'ems contest, make sure your picks are in on time. Let's see. Green flag waves at approximately 12:15 today, so make sure you have your picks in. If you're doing the 5-week, $100 Quaker Steak and Lube gift card contest that will wrap up the weekend at Phoenix, and then we're going to do that whole party down at Quaker Steak and Lube for the Homestead Miami Speedway party, the viewing party where we're going to give away a bunch of prizes. We got some really cool things. What were some of the other? We got a bunch of lug nuts. I know it was Carl Edwards, Dale Jr.
Got some Carl Edwards. We've got some Dale Jr. We've got some Harvick, Martin Truex.
And these aren't signed because that'd be pretty difficult to sign.
Have to sign them like with the end of a toothpick or something.
but
just to let everybody know, when I pick these lug nuts up, I get them right after a pit stop. A couple of the pit stops I videoed because I happened to be right there when it was all going down. So if you want, when you pick a lug nut, like I've got Carl Edwards' pit stop that I got his lug nuts from. I got Dale Jr.'s pit stop that I got his lug nuts from. So if you want me to text you the pit stop so you can have that on your phone or whatever, just make sure when we're there that you, just ask me to do it. I'll be more than happy to, get a phone number and send it over to you right there while we're sitting there at Quaker Steak. And trying to think who else I got lug nuts from. Kurt Busch, because we got some autographed hero cards from him.
So we'll be giving out a lot of those cool things, and those are race used at Kansas Speedway. We also have some stuff from Iowa Speedway earlier in the year that we picked
David
up.
Starr, Brendan Gaughan.
Yep. So a lot of really cool things we're going to be giving away November 22nd at Quaker Steak and Lube for the Homestead viewing party. We hope you can join us for that. We appreciate you joining us today. Next weekend we will be back to do it all over again as we'll recap what happened today at Martinsville, and we will preview Texas. Plus, we've got some more great interviews lined up for you. Dirk, always a pleasure having you. Dirk Diggler, I've been meaning to call you that for a couple of weeks. Some little dirty information I found out about you at Kansas Speedway. And for those of you who know who Dirk Diggler is, you now know a little bit of personal secret from Dirk Houston.
Plain and simple, it's when I was an official, that was a short time after that movie had come out.
Boogie Nights, right?
I picked up the nickname. And was proud to wear it.
Not a bad nickname. The nicknames I've carried, I would much rather have Dirk Diggler as the nickname.
Well, I mean, Mark Wahlberg played me in the movie, so
yeah, it was based on you actually, wasn't it? Back in the 70s when
back
you were
in my high school days.
Yep. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll do the front stretch all over again next weekend here on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.